Welcome to the Brandinc PR Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of today's most impactful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Whether you're building your brand, scaling your business, or just looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. Hello, and welcome back to the Brandinc PR Podcast. Happy New Year. I know it's halfway through February, and I'm saying Happy New Year, but I haven't done a single episode by myself in a little while. So, all the things, but Happy New Year to you and tuning back in. My name, of course, is Brandi Sims. I'm the founder of Brandinc PR. And today we're talking about where PR is headed in 2026. And yes, I get it. The caveat being that we're already starting and really well into this year, but it already feels like it's already been a year, to be quite honest. It's been that kind of last 2 months. And I feel like a lot of you can relate to me on this, not only just professionally speaking, but also just personally speaking. It has been a long year in what is just a month. So I feel great in knowing that a lot of you can relate to that. So, but that being said, we're not going to be talking about what worked in 2022. We're not going to be talking about what went viral last month, but what brands are actively preparing for right now. Because the truth is, PR has completely shifted. We're pitching journalists and algorithms. We're building audiences we actually own. And we're seeing a major decentralization of media power. Okay. If you've been paying attention to the news, you're probably well aware of this. If not, please just look up the news. Even today, look up the news and you'll see what we mean by that. So in this episode, I'm breaking down my top 5 PR trends to watch out for in 2026 and how you can proactively prepare for them instead of reacting later. Whether you're a founder, nonprofit leader, creative, or marketing professional, this episode is your strategy check-in. So let's get right into it. All right, so the first thing I really want to talk about is the idea, really, that AI has become a creative teammate. All right. So, with that being said, this is what I mean. AI is now embedded in almost every aspect of our working professional life. Okay. We've got AI embedded in PR workflows, from drafting pitches to press release first drafts, sentiment analysis. We use a ton of AI for that, content repurposing. So many different areas of PR and communications work has now included AI. And some of it, to be quite honest, it hasn't even been something that I can honestly say we have sought after, if that makes sense. Like, yes, there are many tools that we adopted very early on in our agency. Heck, we were using Grammarly more than 10 years ago, right? But when you cut to now, there are prompts for AI without us even asking for it. So in your email, we use Gmail, we love Google Workspace. And now that has the option of AI embedded into the emails to where it can create those quick responses for you. We love it, especially on those days where you can't think of the words and you just need something really quickly just to say, hey, yeah, I got it. It helps in that sense. And in other areas, it's kind of the same thing. When you do a Google search now, or any really search engine now, you can see that there is the AI kind of prompt that will pop up and say, here's our summarized thoughts on this particular area that you're looking for. Now that's a real thing. So it's not even that we're seeking out AI, it's now becoming embedded in our processes. And so for that, you really have to think and consider that now it is a true partner in this. It's a true teammate in the workforce. When we're talking about technology and its incorporation into our day-to-day operations. So this is definitely going to be what I would say the shift from just kind of experimenting with AI, kind of playing with it, to operationalizing it. Okay, because of where it's being embedded and how much it's being embedded into our day-to-day work operations. So with that, there are some ethical considerations with it. So when we first adopted AI use for Brandinc PR, my agency, one of the first things that we as a team made it a point to do was have resources available to educate our team about the use of AI. Even just for me, I came from a very, very different era of PR where we were still using faxes for press releases. We were still learning the basics for drafting and content creation, the whole nine. We were doing very different things. So this is somewhat of adoption for me in having to learn it. But with that being said, it was really, really important that right out the gate, I communicated to my team that if we're going to use this thing and I expect you to use this, know what it is and what its purpose is in your day-to-day operations and your work, right? You need to understand what you're working with, but you also need to recognize that this is a tool and it's not a replacement. So we had those conversations very early on, developed a really awesome playbook that is a part of our training tools and modules where anyone from our interns to regular contractors that will work with us, they have to go through this process and actually go through our playbook to understand how you are going to use it when you're working for us, with us, the whole nine. But it was intentional. It was intentional to create these training programs and these modules and information just so that our team understood what it was going to do for them and how to best use it for that reason. But we also wanted to make sure that there was that ethical consideration. We're writers. PR and communications are naturally, not only naturally writers, right? That's our skills. But it is a very, very content driven role, whether you're an anchor, you're a journalist, reporter, you're a publicist, public relations consultant. Most of the roles within communication is going to require you to have some original thought and also have to write. Very writing intensive. So with that being said, for those that are exposed to AI, you have to have these conversations really early because there is an integrity piece to this, but there's also an ethical consideration to this. So in educating our team about it, it was so imperative that we were able to do that. And we have been able to successfully do that because we wanted our team to practice and use these tools to the best of its ability, but to do so ethically, and to make sure that we're checking all the boxes of how are we using this tool and how are we using it effectively and efficiently, but we're also using it ethically. That's a huge thing. So it almost, to me, kind of ties directly into why AI literacy is so important. And it's so crazy. Just a few years ago, and really honestly, up until this year, once I finished my PhD in strategic communications, it has been such a big thing for me to educate on media literacy. We need more media literacy in schools. We need it even younger. The more exposure that we have and the younger audiences having exposure to different forms of media, they need that literacy. They need to know what they're up against. But now, just seeing how much AI has really truly taken off, I almost want to say we got to take it a step further. It's not just media lit that needs to be, shared and educated and thoroughly practiced, but it's also this AI literacy. People need to know what they're up against. They need to know how to use it, and they need to know how to use it ethically. AI literacy, honestly, when I look at it from a leadership standpoint, I think it is a leadership skill. For myself, having to be that one in the position to say to my team, like, hey, we need to have tools for this. You guys need to know what you're doing with this. That to me was a practice in real time of that active leadership skill and involvement in saying that, listen, we need to get educated on this. So we know what we're working with and we know how to use it the right way and not the wrong. That's something that as agency owners that are listening in, as entrepreneurs that are listening in on this episode, this is something that you really have to ask yourself. What are you doing as a leader to ensure that your team is using this appropriately? Okay, because think about it like this, AI is still in its infancy, meaning it's still growing, it's still learning, it's still adapting. So there's so much more that it's going to be able to do probably in the next 6 months, let alone a year. So with that being said, you really have to ask yourself as a leader, what is it that I'm doing to ensure that my team is equipped for this adaptation, is equipped for its growth? If we're going to be using it within the workspace, let's just be real. You're more than likely using AI. Your team is more than likely using AI in some capacity throughout the day, whether it is, like I mentioned before, searching for something on Bing or Yahoo or Google, or looking up something in a different area, or needing a quick email drafted to make sure you don't make somebody mad. They're probably more than likely already using it. So, with that being said, what are you doing as a leader to make sure that they're using it the right way? That they're not taking away from their natural skill set, but they're using this efficiently and appropriately within the workspace. That's where, as a leader, you can come in and help to educate them in the ways that you want them really and truly to use these AI tools. Definitely in 2026, I 100% see it becoming a true teammate within a practitioner's or PR practitioner's role. It's becoming that creative teammate, and really taking that a step further because now it can do so much within even the design side. So this is where I think it's important that we get a little bit more educated in how to use this thing and how to best practices really and truly in its use. AI isn't replacing PR professionals. I know that's often said. That's the hot take. Oh, it's going to replace the work. It is not. It is not going to replace anyone's work. But professionals who understand AI will absolutely replace those who don't. I can definitely say that without a shadow of a doubt. Those that have and fail to adopt to it are absolutely going to be replaced because the technology, the efficiencies, the capabilities, the list goes on what it can do and how it can enhance our work tremendously. If you're missing out on this and you're making the choice to not utilize and get educated on it, you are truly setting yourself up, in my view, to be replaced. Professionals aren't going to be replaced, but those that aren't, you absolutely are. Failure to adopt is failure to grow. And that's it. So definitely consider the ins and outs, but also get educated on it so that you feel confident and comfortable with explaining it to your team, how they can best use it within the communication space. 100. Right. So the next PR trend that I see taking off in 2026, why I want to name this one, but the authentic storytelling over perfect posting all the time. Okay. So there's been a lot of fatigue around overly polished content. And I'm sure you founders that are tuning in, you've seen it. You've created some incredible graphics, consistent timing on the posts. You've got the right hashtags if you're still using those hashtags. No shade, no tea, but those are kind of gone with the wind by this point. But you've seen the times where you've shared those posts and for whatever reason, getting 1 like, 2 like, heck, if you're lucky, maybe a couple likes, right? There is a fatigue around it. Okay, those overly polished posts where it's just perfect and it hits just right, it doesn't rock the boat, really doesn't say anything that's in a disagreement, and it's just kind of perfect. Those days are gone. Those days are gone. You cannot thrive on social media right now with overly polished content. It's boring. And it's not capturing the algorithm. You know what it is? Founder-led visibility. There's a reason why you're seeing so many brands that are coming out of, I would say, the woodwork, right? Their leadership is coming out of the woodwork and they're becoming more front-facing. Whereas in the past, you knew a symbol, a logo, branding color, themes, all of those things that, check all of the boxes, right? That's a thing of the past. Right now, what you're seeing that rise of founder visibility. You're seeing more founders coming out of the woodwork, right? Coming out from behind the scenes and speaking about a variety of issues, a variety of topics, and really showcasing their thought leadership in a profound way. You're going to see more of that as people are engaging, consumers are engaging more with founder-led content. Okay. And that's not just to say every time there's a post, the founder is the one talking or the one speaking, not necessarily saying that. But what we are, and what I am saying is that you're going to see more of that visibility of the founder getting in on this action that is social media content and growth, getting involved and showing that we're not this stuffy person that is hidden behind a logo, behind a brand, behind all of these things in so many different areas, but we are real people. And that, I think, ties into that authentic storytelling that we're going to see more of, and that's going to get more engagement. Consumers want authenticity. I know it sounds like preaching to the choir. I know it probably sounds like, oh my gosh, well, that's all I hear is authenticity and the authentic storytelling. And I'm going to say it again, you need to have it. Okay. You need to have it because likely right now, what you're doing is exactly what I said before. You're creating perfect content, the perfect graphic with the perfect stock image. Yeah, I see you. I see you and I hear you. You're creating all of these things, posting it at the exact right time, but you're still not getting a response from it. Why do you think that is? You haven't tapped into the authentic storytelling. What is authentic about a perfectly polished graphic or perfectly polished moment? It's not authentic. It's not real. Why? Because real people often post infrequently. They post things that come to mind. They post things that are happening in their world. They post things that are real. Most times we aren't always going to get it right. And we're certainly not putting essay long posts together because, again, small businesses, entrepreneurs, you're more than likely wearing a lot of hats. Okay. Showcase that. That's authentic. People can relate to that. People can relate to being busy and tied up, but man, I love this job. Or man, this really sucks. Hate when an order gets canceled, but hey, at least I got an extra product. There's certain things, and certain commonalities that we can all relate to. And that's where authentic storytelling really comes into play. There is also opinion driven content that's taken off. And I know you've heard of it. There's many forms of it. Rage bait is probably the most buzzy one I could probably think of right now. But rage bait is a form of opinion driven content. Right now, that's actually outperforming neutral content. That's outperforming those basic, super polished graphic stock image. They're outperforming those. Why do we think that's happening? Authenticity. Okay, I'm going to keep preaching this one. Stop focusing so much on the perfect design and start focusing on real, authentic storytelling and content. What does that look like? Give your thoughts on things. Share your opinion on certain topics. Okay, tie that into the brand, the services that you offer. What are things that you're seeing or that your consumers are experiencing that is a pain point for them? Talk about that. It's okay not to be neutral even on every little thing. It's okay to shake it up a bit. Now, what that shake up looks like is going to be different for every brand, every organization, every industry, and what that looks like for you. But what we can say, just based on the stats, that neutral content, it's fallen by the wayside. But I don't think you needed me to tell you that. I think you could tell when you look at those pages that are constantly, it's President's Day, and it's a great day to have a great day. Super neutral, super basic, literally no responses, no engagement. What's authentic about being like everybody else? I'm just saying, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I think this is going to resonate and hit with you. You've got to find ways to really drive in. How can we share our thoughts authentically that's true to this brand and true to this organization that people can connect with? Let's stop relying on the general, very basic, vague graphics just to check the box that we did a thing. It does not matter. And to be honest, speaking to the founders here and in C-suite level leadership, if you're allowing this, what a waste of time. Why would you want to spend the time, the resources on someone just posting just to do something or just to check a box when you could actually be strategic in this? This is leadership talking here, okay? Be strategic in the type of content that you're sharing. Be strategic in what you're presenting that is your brand as you're giving your digital footprint, okay? It matters. Authentic storytelling matters, and it's always going to be a consistent thing, okay? This is a trend that is happening as we speak, and we're seeing it more and more often. The organizations, the brands that have adopted this and switch up their strategy, those are the ones that are thriving on this crazy thing that is the ever-changing algorithm on each of the social media platforms. Okay, the ones that are doing well are the ones that have locked in. The ones that are doing well are the ones that are really giving authentic storytelling and really providing that transparency, that truth, and those things that the audience craves. Being personal, being relatable, having a personality, okay? That's what they're after. And that's what we're going to see so much more as we continue on in 2026. Happy Monday content does not move the needle. It does not anymore. It might have worked 5 years ago, heck, even 10 years ago. And the algorithm would have picked it up and you would get a bunch of likes, dozens of interests, even some followers in that. But now it's not going to give you, it's not even going to give a bat on the eye. It's just not. It's nothing. It's just going to literally be checking a box. And why do that? Why just check the box when you can be intentional? Okay, I'm just calling you out today. I'm just saying authenticity does not mean oversharing. So I want to clarify that. It does not mean to overshare. It means you need to have alignment. So if your brand voice feels manufactured and you know it because you know when you go on it, like, oh man, like, I mean, it's a great graphic, but I mean, geez, this is so generic. Your audience can feel that too. They can feel it. Switch it up, change the strategy and the approach, but ask yourself that question. Ask your team that question. Is this authentically us? Is this what we want to communicate in? Okay. And this shift towards authenticity connects directly to how we're being discovered in 2026. Okay. You've got to get on board. If not already, you've got to get on board or you're going to get left behind. All right. So the third trend that I see really taking off this year into 2026 is GEO optimization. Last year, I know there was much discussion about this. There was very few information because, again, AI is kind of growing, it's building, it's doing its thing. ChatGPT is growing, it's building, it's doing its thing, it's learning, right? GEO was one of those things that was like, okay, we're still kind of figuring out. So for those that are unfamiliar, GEO is generative engine optimization, optimizing your digital presence for AI generated responses. So for example, I mentioned earlier, when you go to search on your search engine, now it's starting to have an embedded AI response for you and summarizing an answer and response. AI and these particular tools are pulling from other areas to gather that information to present to you. Those are AI generated responses. Okay. When you optimize your digital presence and do this effectively, those AI generated responses will be pulling from what you've shared online that they can now use for different responses when people are searching for things. This is why GEO is so important, because now that we have millions, if not probably easily going to be billions very soon, we have billions of people that are using these platforms to find out answers to different things that they're asking for, looking for throughout the day. We have millions of people or billions of people that are using this and they're looking for these things, and AI is pulling from online platforms. They're pulling that information to present it to that person. This is why it's important for a business owner to have a digital footprint, because it's pulling your information potentially for that individual that's looking or searching for information that you can provide support to. AI search has become a consistent behavior, but it's an increasing one. Okay. So thought leadership content is definitely becoming data for AI summaries. Just as I mentioned, it's becoming that thing that they're pulling from. And this can be incredibly invaluable for a business owner, for a new brand, because it's almost, I look at it and I think of it in the sense of a Yahtzee game. When you press Yahtzee, everything pop and it starts over. We've just had a Yahtzee moment where everything has just started over and everybody's on the same even level playing field, right? For those that like competition, it's like, yeah, let's do this, right? That's how I feel about it. So now that we've had this Yahtzee moment, right? Everybody's on the same even level playing field. All of that content that's available, it's going to start pulling from those that were online and have an active presence. So right out the gate, we had several clients that are right at the top of those GEO searches because we were developing press releases for them. We were developing statements for them. We were developing earned media placements for them. All of these areas that people had either talked about, mentioned our brands, our clients, or placements that we had earned from them where they were being mentioned. It's pulling from those areas. So we were kind of in a great position in that we were getting hits just because of all the placements. And especially especially during the time where I know you guys have saw this, where people were saying, oh, well, press releases are just outdated. We don't really need them anymore. And yada, yada. And it's just like, we didn't buy the bait. Why? Because even at that time, we were thinking about digital footprint. We constantly need to have content. We don't care if it got one view, one like. We constantly need to have a digital footprint. Okay. We constantly need to have that for our brands and for the clients that we represent because we understand the value. We understood even then the value of having what I will say a digital paper trail to show and highlight the history of this brand, this business's founder, and what they're working on, what they're doing. It was always going to be valuable. So it was great when this Yahtzee moment happened because we were getting hits left and right simply because we continued to stay the course for our brand. So for communicators, do not let them fool you into thinking press releases are outdated. No one's using. Yes, we are. And yes, you should be. It never went away. And it's definitely always going to be an important thing in how we can communicate what's happening with our organizations and brands that we serve. You absolutely need to be doing it. And here's just yet another reason why you absolutely should. Okay? There's an importance here. There's an importance of the clear expertise and positioning. We had client statements that have been published years ago starting to be drawn from GEO. We had interviews, features where our founders would be able to speak about certain areas of interest. We had topics that were happening at that time that are being brought up now that is now being pulled from GEO. It's clear expertise positioning. That was the content thread to connect all of these things. It was that consistency in the digital footprint, but it was also structured content. We had consistent posting that we were doing, not only from the earned media side, because that's just one end that I'm talking about, but I'm also talking about the owned media, where you're publishing your own blog posts and sharing insight into a topic from your organization. We're talking about your own platforms where you're sharing what is the new thing that's happening within our industry. What is the new product you need to check out from our team? It's that structured content. All of these core areas now have become the overlap into what we now know deeply into GEO strategy. So the fact that they're being cited in all of these AI answers is a huge win in PR and is a huge win for businesses if they understand how to build the strategy around it. There's the things like authority stacking across platforms. And I just kind of touched on this, not just limiting to, what every feature, every write-up, every podcast that we're doing, but also what is it that we're sharing on our own platform? How are we connecting and collaborating with other platforms so that they're sharing us? Content stacking, authority stacking across platforms is how you can build upon your GEO strategy so that your brand is becoming that one that is constantly being referenced when people are searching for things within these platforms. This is also speaking of other things that are often like, you don't need this. It's so outdated. This is why your about page matters more now than ever. If you were one of the ones that took that bait of an about page is so unnecessary, it just needs to be a company bio and then we're good. Here's why. Because it's pulling. AI responses are pulling from your about pages, your bio pages, your company bio page. They're pulling the basics about who you are, what you represent, and what you offer directly from what you have published. So if this was that wake-up call for you that you need to go ahead and put that back on, please do. Because you could be missing out on opportunities for brands to find you, organizations, consumers to find you off of something as basic as an about page. And while you're at it, make sure you update it. Make sure your pictures are up to date too. So we're not just pitching reporters anymore, guys. We're not. We're positioning for algorithms. And while we're talking about control, let's talk about ownership. Okay, this is the fourth trend. So I mentioned earlier, we're seeing such a trend with traditional media platforms experiencing layoffs. We've been experiencing, honestly, that for the last 6 years. Platform after platform, media outlet after outlet, transitioning either to a digital platform, a hybrid format, or completely bellying up and shutting down. Okay, we're seeing a lot of that happening, but in its place, okay, We've also seen more newsletters and micro platforms rising to the occasion. Okay? Email lists now, it's being treated as own media because it is on your own separate platform. Yes, you pay for the tools, the technology, all of that good stuff, but ultimately this is a version of an owned platform. This is yours. You own it, you purchase it, this is yours, and you put out content on this platform. Okay, an email list is a part of that. And thus why you need to treat it as such. Creator-led platforms are gaining a lot more credibility than they did in the past. 10 plus years ago, I remember pitching for clients to be on blogs. One of our favorite gossip blogs. It was called Hello Nicole, but it had a different name back then. And it was one that had multi-million hits, views, celebrity, entertainment, news, you name it. But at that time, blogs weren't really respected. They were treated as very opinion based, which is fair. Most of them are opinion based. They're not really based upon anything necessarily factual or any type of investigative journalism, like real authentic journalism, right? At its core, it's very much opinion based. It's them giving their thoughts and ideas on things, right? But with that being said, when you cut to now, because there has been such a transition from traditional media to these online platforms and now creator-led platforms, it has started to gain its own credibility. There have been, even in this last election, you've had powerful public figures go on creator-led platforms. This was never the case before. They almost always relied solely on traditional media. And then, of course, your grassroots efforts, which is kind of a separate thing within a political campaign. But now you're seeing them go on these creator-led platforms. This is where they have now been able to shift that narrative of not being taken seriously into being a considerable source of news information. And with these public figures and credible individuals being a part of this, honestly given them somewhat of a level of credibility too. All right. They're gaining the credibility. And so now you have to look at them in a very different light and consider them as part of your strategy and your planning when it comes to PR and media outreach. They've got to be included now because they do have a sense of credibility. Not all, but many are. And they're starting to gain more of that. So when you think of those newsletters, Substacks is the first thing that comes to mind. Substack style ecosystems, those have become very, very popular. I see in 2026, this becoming a real legitimate shift. It was trickling the last few years. Even my team, we've pitched to a few of them before for our clients. But now I think in this new year, it's definitely going to be a true part of strategy now, because the amount of eyeballs that are going on these Substacks, the amount of subscribers that are tuning into these things, you can't leave it alone now. You can't ignore it. This is something that you actually need to be paying attention to and making a point to be a part of. Now, that's speaking from the PR and comm side. From the founder entrepreneur side, I would say you would need to be looking at it as a potential area to be pitching your brand to. Because again, we're looking at a very different audience and we're looking at owned media. Okay. So with that, it's their email list, it's their audience, and you want to tap into that. That's where it's getting into that. But even on the flip side, if it's not something for pitching and it's more so for you as a brand, as an organization to be connecting with your audience, now's the time. Consumers are saying they want to support independent media. Consumers are also saying that they want to tune into the things that matter and that they actually are interested in and they like the personalized, customized format that Substack style is giving them. They're subscribing to those. So this could be a good opportunity as a founder to be creating content that is geared towards your audience and putting it into these platforms where they can connect with you. And now we are legit talking about newsletters becoming the thing again. And it is. And it's becoming a source of credibility in news at this point. So, it's just wild to think of it. But, this is how things come full circle, right? And this is a significant way, I would say, that smaller communities can really have deeper engagement with the brands that they love and the public figures that they love. And heck, I'm saying public figures, but the journalists that they love. There have been such an influx, journalists, reporters that have been attached to traditional media that have now gone into somewhat of a freelancer capacity and have created their own Substacks and their own newsletters, creating their own media. The first thing that one that comes to mind is Don Lemon and the Lemonheads, right? Has been known for his work in traditional media and has transitioned out and started to build his own following and own platform, which is not something that you would have seen 10 years ago, but that is the climate that we're in now. And that's the types of opportunities that we have now. And we're going to see a lot more of. Followers in this instance are not the only asset here, right? We talk so much about social media growth. We talk so much about the importance of consistent posting and all of the things. And I know I talked about that earlier, but there's so much emphasis on followers. But I think in 2026, that's a 2025 thing. Heck, it's a 2024 thing. Followers aren't enough, but you know what is? Subscribers. Subscribers are where it's at. This is about the long-term play of building a niche audience. These newsletters, these micro platforms are going to give the opportunity to develop a very specific niche audience of folks that are genuinely interested in the products that you have and the services that you offer that go beyond just a follow, just a like. If you like us, we'll send you this and all. We're past that. 2026 is going to be about where are your subscribers? Are they subscribed to you? Are they tuning in to what you have to offer? Have you built something that they want to tune in and be a part of? That's what it's going to be about. That's the long-term play. Direct to audience trust. That's what we're building now. This is going to be the trend of 2026. You're going to see a lot more brands incorporating this, if not already. That's going to be the thing. And you really have to ask, if Instagram disappears tomorrow, how would your audience reach you? Be honest with yourself. Are they going to be able to connect with you? Or have you put all your eggs into the social media platform basket? And it's okay to say, yeah, I fell for Brandi. Yeah, that was me. It's okay. But that's why I'm here to have this conversation with you and point out that, listen, this is a trend that's not disappearing. You have to really improve your owned media. You have to. It's going to be imperative because this is where people are going. This is where they're investing their time. Social media, don't get me wrong, it's there. It's a great tool. It's great to engage with folks, but it's not the only thing. I would never suggest putting all your eggs in one basket, and I definitely wouldn't suggest doing that for social media. Owned attention beats borrowed visibility every time, okay? Every single time it's going to do that. And this, okay, is my final trend that might surprise people who only chase national headlines. And I'm probably got some that tuned in today. So I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out this episode. Independent media is taking center stage. And I just briefly touched on that, but let's unpack it more. Newsroom budgets are shrinking. They're shrinking. There is a huge shift in ad revenue. But in that same breath, there's a rise of independent journalists and local outlets. There's much more regional influence that's driving the real results that we're used to seeing from traditional media. So what does that mean for the brand? What does that mean for your organization? What does that mean as a PR practitioner? This means that local media is building stronger credibility, okay? There's been far too long, local media has been slept on, right? We have, and especially the PR practitioners that are tuned in. I know you get those calls, those prospects. Hey, we want to be in New York Times. Hey, we want to be on Fox, and we want to do the Jennifer Hudson show, and we want to be on Kelly Clarkson show, and all of the major national media placements is what they're after, and that's what they want. There's no in the middle, in between. We just want to shoot for the stars, which is not bad. It's not bad. But here's the thing. Local media is an incredible opportunity to secure if you're able to do it. Why? Because it's your immediate audience. And there is a level of credibility that's associated with it. These are the people that you commune with, that you fellowship with, that you're around. and they can 100% add credibility to what you're saying because they're here. They're right in your backyard. Local media has often been slept on because there's been this idea that if it's local, it's small or you're playing small. That's why we want to go after the national media. That's why we want to only do the tier 3 media platforms. And it's just not the case. Media is media. Okay? Media is media, meaning media, whether it is a local interview or a national interview, it's still an opportunity and it's still going to get a placement and it's still going to be presented on digital platforms. It's still going to be your digital footprint. So you still absolutely need to engage with them. And heck, I have found even more often in some of my more recent pitches for clients that I've gotten responses from local media much faster than I've gotten from my national people. And I know it might sound like a stretch. Well, national media has lead time, longer lead times, all of that good stuff. But with the inclusion of digital platforms and many of them transitioning into digital platforms, I've seen a faster response even with them, especially on a story that they really want to get really quickly. But even with those, I've seen that shift, very slow response time, and some requiring a lot up front before they even engage with you. And to eventually say, well, never mind, our editor wants to focus on something else. Oh, we got breaking news. And then it's dead in the water, right? And that is a real thing. But with local media, you do have, I think, a hand to the pulse of the community. You have an ear to the streets. You can see what's happening, what they're looking for, but they're always looking for authentic stories to share. And I really emphasize authentic stories to tell, in that it's not just about, oh, I have an event. Oh, I'm an organization. Oh, I started a business. Please, please, please have something newsworthy. Authentic storytelling has personality. It is newsworthy. It checks many boxes of what a reporter wants to showcase to an audience in a community. It is not pumping up your head, making you feel good about you, and, oh, I'm just a great business owner. Nobody cares about that. And to be honest, you're a business, congratulations. So are you and the millions and billions of others. It's not special. It's not unique. And we need to stop acting like it is. You need to bring something that's newsworthy. And when you bring something newsworthy, guess what? Local media is going to tap in because they have an opportunity to share stories, and they want to share good stories that their audience is going to want to take a bite into. Community-based storytelling is a huge part of this. And we're going to see a lot more of this as we move into 2026, largely because, again, there's a shift from traditional media in many ways than one, for a variety of reasons, from layoffs, lack of staffing, lack of access, ad budgets, all of those things. All of those things are true. So with that, you're going to see that shift of more people choosing to tune in, and they are choosing to tune in to those creator-led platforms, smaller platforms, independent platforms. You're going to see that. We're already seeing it, to be quite honest. So you're going to see even more of that as we move on into 2026. Not every client needs a Today Show moment. Sometimes they need the right local feature that can convert. I've had it happen on numerous occasions. I had a client out in Oklahoma that had made a huge donation. I think it was like $5 million, clear medical debt for community, over 1,000 community members, right? And we were tasked with sharing it to the media, to the local media. We had pitched our local media, our regional, and we also pitched it out to national media. The first ones to pick it up, and mind you, this was less than 3 years ago. First one to pick it up, guess, local media. And you know what they did? When they had written the story and done an interview with our client about it, others wanted to get those quotes and wanted to interview about it. And from there, we went from 1 or 2 local places in a very, very small town in Oklahoma that had limited access to syndicated networks to now a national viral story. We had hundreds of mentions and placements after that. And I attribute it and accredit it 100% to our strategy and our focus on let's start local and build it from there. Yes, we can still pitch out the national media, but we're not just relying upon well, let's just focus on them because if we get the big one, then everything else will blow up. No, we flipped it. And by flipping it, it led to way more opportunities than we could manage. It was that impactful. But in 2026, visibility is becoming more distributed. And that is what's going to create opportunity. That's what's going to move the needle. Consider your local media. In fact, don't even just consider it. You need to be tapping into your local media, but don't come at them with some nonsense, some self-portrait, self-actualized BS. Bring a real story. Just being a business is not enough. That's not a story. What have you done? Have you impacted your community? Have you impacted the world? Did you hit a remarkable number? How is this helping solve problems for people in the community? Really think hard about that before we go out and we pitch. And I'm speaking to my PR practitioners too, because I know we get roped into a lot of stuff with difficult clients. And you've got to do this, and you got push back on them. Push back on them and tell them, is this truly newsworthy? Ask them that question. Pull up your criteria. What makes a story newsworthy? And break it down to them. Sometimes it's education that's needed. And I'm a big proponent of that. I think it's important. Get educated. Understand and learn what it is that people are looking for and tap into that. Make sure the story is newsworthy before you reach out. And then from there, tap into them. Local media, 2026, local media is going to be where it's at. Independent, indie channels are going to be where it's at. It's already been taken off, but I think this year, we're going to see everything flip. It's been slowly happening, but I think this year is where we're really going to see a complete shift of this is what we are strategizing and supporting now. This is where our focus is because this is where the consumer is. And I'm not even mad at it. I understand. You have to tap in. So those are my top 5 PR trends to watch in 2026. If you're feeling a little overwhelmed, don't be. This isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right thing strategically. Leverage AI, but protect your voice. Be authentic, but stay aligned. Position for algorithms and relationships. Hi, GEO. Build owned platforms. We're not just relying on all these third-party platforms. We're building our own now. That is going to be the focus of 2026. Build your own. And don't underestimate the power of independent media. PR isn't dying, it's evolving, okay? It is evolving. Don't let them fool you. And the brands that win in 2026 will be the ones that understand that evolution early on. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a colleague or founder who needs to hear it. Leave us a review, subscribe, and connect with us at Brandinc PR if you're ready to elevate your visibility strategy this year. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next episode.